Oliver is um, sitting with Preen, talking about Preen, who's her? I forget gender. Uh, their gang, we'll get that right eventually. Um, oh, I don't actually have it written down. Oh, okay. I'm just gonna go with there. Okay. All right. So, talking with Preen has just secured their gang's help, as they are certainly interested in being able to get whatever they can uh, as they help to defend Fleece's Landing from Bill's gang, who we know is planning to come at some point. Uh, we don't know when. What we do know, though, is that as Oliver and Preen are talking, there's a commotion outside, and both of them, right, hear this, right, and look up to find coming through the door into Krine's bar some people who look kind of familiar to Oliver at this point. It is the person, the member of Bill's gang, who was there as a scout in Fleece's Landing earlier. And I don't actually know that I ever gave them a name, so let's go ahead and pick one of the names that we have here on my threat list. Well, we're off to a great start, Professor. Yeah, this is Shan, and I'm going to make Shan a he. All right. All right, so Shan comes in with okay. A few people, a few people. I'd say that they have basically a medium-sized gang here, so it's a handful of people coming, right? And they don't actually, to my knowledge, oh, they might actually know Oliver's name. Ooh, that'd be bad. Uh, but they declare that they are here because they know that there is someone who came from Fleece's Landing, and Bill ain't happy about that, and he wants him brought in. So here's the question, right? So I turn to Preen and I say, "Do you all have a vehicle?" And the answer is, please be yes. I think it's likely. Yes, barely. Is there a modifier on it? There is not a modifier. So Preen says, yes, yes, we do in fact have a vehicle. We can get out of here. Right, so that is something that now Oliver is looking to see if there is a way for them to get out of this situation. Right, so he's going to read the situation to see if there is some clear way out. That is really what we're looking for here, and I'm pretty sure that is one of the things you can do with reading a sitch. Yeah, to read a sitch. Yep, yep, yep. All right, so rolling to read sitch is a sharp roll. 6 plus 2, that makes it an 8. 8 is a success. Right, so question is, what's our best escape route, way out or way in? So that is something Oliver does notice. Ooh, I get an improvement. Well, that's cool. What do I want to do? Let's do, well, I don't like how awful I am at some of this stuff. So I'm gonna get +1 hard. So my hard is now up to 0. Okay, no, better a straight roll than a penalty. Um, so he looks around and he sees that, well, certainly there is like the main door, right? But the problem is there are people, specifically Bill's gang, between him and the main door, and Preen and the main door. On the other hand, he does notice that there is kind of a back exit they can work their way out of. So the question is whether he can manage to sneak out that way. I think sneaking might be the way to go. Uh, so I don't know that this. Oh, I guess no. This would actually be kind of an acting under. Yeah, this is doing something under fire. Definitely. Okay. Right. So I think yeah, that's the most obvious move here. Right. So uh, Oliver right points says, "Well, let's get out this way and go." Right. How do they do? 9. Ooh, oh, okay. All right. So it's not a great. Oh wait, I get a +1. I get a +1. Yes, yes. Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, I get a +1 because I'm acting on the reading situation. All right, so that makes that a 10. So Preen and Oliver do manage to kind of slip out the back as what was it? As Shan and his cronies are there, kind of still looking at the bar, kind of messing with people at different tables. Because fortunately, it seems that Shan has not recognized Oliver, even though he probably would recognize him. I mean, they were very close together during the confrontation, but nonetheless, uh, he doesn't manage to recognize him. He's like Oliver and Preen are kind of in the back of the bar, so they make their way out of kind of a back alley, and they get on. Like Oliver gets on his bike, and at the same time, Preen joins up with their gang. Again, it's not very many people, it's just a small handful of people, and they have their vehicle that they are in. What kind of vehicle is it? I don't actually know. Let's see. Let's see. What types of vehicles do we have? Well, I'll roll for size. That's it. So, how big is this vehicle? It's a huge vehicle. All right. Well, I mean, hmm, that's not kind of what I expected at all. I mean, like the size of a jet. That's too much. That's just too much. Can we make it like a bus? Is a bus the size of a small jet? Maybe, maybe. Yeah, let's say they have a bus. Right, so Preen also has a bus. Right, so they're in their bus while Oliver gets on his bike, and they have to go somewhere. Right, so as they're trying to get things started, I think there has to be some kind of problem here. Oh, okay. But I assume that Bill probably left, right, some of his gang outside. This seems fairly likely. But it is not what happened, right? So Bill, in fact, not Bill, Shan took all of the members of Bill's gang inside. So they're actually, it seems, free to go as far as that goes. But they need to find somewhere to go. Now, the obvious thing would be to go to Fleece's Landing, but I don't think that that would necessarily be the best idea at this point in time, because then that's the obvious place that they would go. So I'm gonna say Oliver like pulls his bike around next to Preen's bus, says, "Hey, where can we go?" Right? And Preen says, "Well, there is somewhere that I know about that we could possibly go to. Uh, we need another location. So where is it that they could go? They could go to. Oh, Isle is the name of the next thing, and then Ula. So we go to Ula's Isle. Makes sense. Which direction is that? We don't have anything. Let's say it's to the west. I don't know what kind of place Ula's Isle is. Right, so what kind of place is it? That seems like the reasonable. Yeah. What is a dignified social place? This seems like a nice place to go. Okay. So Ula's Isle is where they're going. So I was wondering, like, is this like a city? Right, that's something. Is it a city? I don't know. No, it is not a city. So that suggests then this is is it like a literal island? I feel like that's unlikely. Nonetheless, it is in fact a literal island. Hey, right. So we are heading to a literal island, right, to the west. So we hop on our bikes. Well, I hop on my bike. They're in their bus. We head off across the wilderness. I really need a good name for like what I'm calling what we're traveling across, because what I'm imagining here, right? Uh, I mean, very, very Mad Max like, but I don't know that it's really desert per se, right? But it's definitely desolate, right? So I'm not thinking like sand, like the Sahara. I guess it may technically be desert in that it's very dry, right? But I'm imagining much more rocky, right, rather than sandy is kind of what I'm imagining, right? So, say it might be dusty, right? But like Oklahoma Dust Bowl kind of 1930s deal is what I'm imagining. Much more than like Dune. It's not Dune. Right? So that's the type of topography they are crossing at this point. And they're trying to get there as quickly as they can. So I'm going to say they managed to do it. And they managed to get, as they head west, but they do eventually end up at a lake. And in the middle of this lake, we said it's not a large, it's not a city or anything like that. There is a literal island, right, in the middle of this lake. It's not a very big island either. It's fairly small. So that's the thing. Like, is there like a boat here that we could take, or something like that to get to the island? Or are we just kind of sitting on the shore of the island? Because the reality is, eventually, Shannon folks are going to figure out that we snuck out, that the people they're looking for had already left, and they're going to be behind us. In fact, I kind of wonder whether we can see them. Can we see them coming across the horizon? It's possible. I don't know. I'm going to make it 50-50. Yes. Yes, we can. Any no modifier on that one. Right. So we can see them coming through the distance. So they will be here, right, sometime in the next few minutes. So is there in fact like a boat here that we can take across this small lake to get to that island? Because if there is, we want to take that boat to make it harder for Shannon Company to catch up with us. So is there in fact a boat? I don't know. I don't know. Oh, the answer is six. That is a yes. Yes. And is there any modifier on that six? There is not. Okay. Right. So yes, there is a boat here. Uh, is the boat motorized? Yes. Okay. Right. So we managed to pile into the boat. Again, there aren't very many of us. Right. So we hop in the boat and we motor across. And I'm going to say we get to the island more or less as Shan's gang gets there. Right. So we get there onto this island. Now I'm imagining here this island. It is um there is a building right on it. It's not a very big building because we determined it's not a city or anything like that. I'm imagining this is a fairly small place. Now Preen apparently claims to know this person. This is Ula's Isle. I think Oliver's assuming Ula is the one, right, who would be here. But instead, what happens, right, is that Preen goes to the door of this like shack. It's a very small like cottage. It's very run down, very stereotypical. I'm thinking like the little villages in Fallout kind of deal is what I'm thinking about here. And so we have then Preen walks up to the door, right, pounds on it. While we in fact can hear, right, uh, Bill's gang, right, led by Shan, so as a part of Bill's gang, right, is here, right, on the shore, right, and looking for a way, right, to get across. Now, fortunately, this is, we found out, a literal island, right, so I don't think they're going to be able to make it across, at least not for a bit. We do have something of an advantage if they try to swim, for example. because I did bring my revolver with me. Always carry that, at least when I'm not at home. Because hey, you never know what's going to happen in the waste. Waste, that's good. Wasteland. Yeah, that's better. That's better than wilderness. Wasteland. That's. I will probably forget that next time I record, but I do like the name Wasteland for describing where we are. In any case, so pounding on the door, and Preen says, "Ick, open the door, let us in." Uh, and you hear a voice from the other side. You can say, how old is this voice? I'm wondering. Okay. All right, so nothing particularly stands out in terms of like the age of this voice or anything like that. It's just it's an adult. Not doesn't sound particularly old, doesn't sound particularly young, right? So very kind of middle aged or so. Right? Like I'm just on the young side of middle aged. Ick, and in this voice says, "You need some help." Green says, "Well, yes. Have you seen the shore?" He says, "Yeah, I can let you stay for a bit." I think at this point, Uh, the lake isn't that big in my mind, right? So it's not like, oh, we can see them away from a distance or something like that. I think it is not unreasonable for someone on the shore, once they figure out they're not going to get across easily, to just start taking shots at us. I very much believe that is something that could be happening literally right now, right? So I would not be at all surprised if that's the case, right? So I think that what I'm going to do now, while Preen is talking to, we assume Ick, uh, Oliver is going to be keeping a lookout. What is it? Keep an eye out, I believe, and is going to just try to um, make sure that Preen and company are aware, right, of this danger. That is the hope, right? So I'm keeping an eye out. Oh, that is awesome. Okay, can't beat that. All right, so I get to hold three. Okay, so what these three allow me to do is to direct an ally's attention to a danger and they take less harm from that danger. That is very good. Right, so it's- so at this point, Preen is a little bit distracted. So I tell Preen, I say, I think we're getting shot at. Right, so we are now aware, right, that this is happening behind us. Now, again, this is from a distance, so I think that um, the odds of them hitting us are fairly low, but I will occasionally want to check that. Let's actually check now. So they fire a shot, and what happens? Okay, I'm going to say it's not very likely that they're going to hit us, which means I think that I'm going to say I need to roll a 5 or 6, right, for someone to potentially have to take harm. Um, Although maybe we should shoot back. That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. So while Preen is negotiating, I think her gang is also not negotiating, but is in fact firing on the other side. So I think that that is what's happening here. So we may end up having to exchange harm at some point, and that would be terrible. I'm just saying, I just got this gang. This could be bad. Okay. All right. So what's happening then? Uh, I think like after pointing this out and that there are shots being fired, I think here in a minute I am going to have some kind of exchange being, or some kind of harm being exchanged potentially. Uh, he says, "Okay, I can let you in, but I'm gonna need something in exchange." Korean is getting very impatient at this point, and says, "Fine, what do you want?" And let's see. So I'm going to use from my one-page generator. I want you to recover something valuable for me from local inhabitants. Right, so from someone nearby. So who else might be living nearby? That's a good question. Well, I mean, I have a list of names. Okay. Joe's girl. Joe's girl. I need you to recover something from Joe's girl. Or like, okay, who is Joe's girl? Well, Joe's girl's a drifter. A drifter of a mystical variety. Okay. So drifter, she's kind of weird. Like, she is like a psychic, a nomad psychic, that kind of deal. Right. Weird, weird lady. I mean, she doesn't even have a name. She just calls herself Joe's girl. Right. We don't even know who. There might not even be a Joe for that matter. So this Joe's girl, she took something of mine. Can I go a little bit more detail about? Okay, fine. What is it that you want us? And here, I think there will actually be an exchange of harm at this point. All right. So this is gang versus gang. So that means we're using gangs as a weapon against each other. Now, I have warned them about this. They should take less harm because of that. Now, there is also a size mismatch, which means then, right, put all this stuff together. Let's see, when you have a gang, okay, you inflict and suffer harm as usually you inflict harm equal to your own harm rating minus the enemy's armor rating, and suffer harm equal to the enemy's harm minus your own armor. So harm is, yeah, well, all of that and everything. Okay, so when the gang takes harm, so what is happening here? Well, I think one, we determined we have a small gang. So I think the small gang means I'm just gonna, okay, it's a small gang versus a medium gang. Right, so against a small gang, here we go. A medium gang inflicts +1 harm and gets +1 armor. Yeah, so they get a +1 on each. Okay, right. So, in that case, I think that the harm established by the gang, um, I don't know that I've actually like figured that out anywhere. I think it makes sense to me that it should be somewhat proportionate to the size of the gang. So I'm going to say that it's two for Preen's gang, that it's a two harm gang. I don't know that I actually have that written down anywhere, but that's what I'm going to decide right now. And then hope that who knows, might arbitrarily change in the future because of my poor memory. Unless I make him a small gang, I'm just going to put here two armor, two harm, two arm, two harm. That's great. Okay, and then it's a little bit bigger. I'm not going to say it's not enormously bigger. It's more like three, right? Okay. For the segment of Bill's gang that is here. I think that's fine. Right, so we have three on the one hand, two on the other, but because of the size mismatch, that means that the medium gang is going to inflict +1 harm, so it's a total of 4 harm, which gets reduced to 3 because of my warning, which means there are widespread injuries, many serious several fatalities. Oh gosh, I hope the gang is dead. Okay, I mean, we don't have very many people, right? But meanwhile, at the same time, we were inflicting 2 harm on them. They would have 3 armor. We don't do anything to them, right? So we're in serious trouble. People are literally dying at this point. Green says, "Fine, fine, we'll do it." Right? But we need it. We need to get inside to get the details. And I think at this point, uh, Nick opens the door. Those of us who are not dead, right, go inside, and there we can hear right the shots outside. It turns out right that um, while you wouldn't know this looking from outside, the shack is apparently reasonably strong against weapons fire. We're going to say that it is actually a fairly safe space for us to be, uh, as far as that goes. And it's going to be dangerous for Bill's gang to try to get there. So I'm going to have to make some decisions about whether they're going to try to get there or not. Think about that. But for now, I want to know the details about what is it that Preen wants us to do. Not Preen. What is it that Preen has just agreed, right, that we are going to do for Kick? Right. All we know is that we have to recover something valuable. What that valuable thing is, that is the thing that I am not sure about. So Let's go ahead and flip a card here. It's something new. Okay, so that tells us it's something new and something physical. Okay, fine. Right, so it's a new physical thing. So I'm thinking it's probably some kind of device, actually. I think that makes some degree of sense that it would be. It's actually some kind of gadget, which actually this is interesting then to Oliver because now he has access. He will, if he can get this thing, or he will have access to this gadget, and that's something that might possibly be useful. I wonder what does this thing do? What is it used for? Okay, it's used to deceive, and it's social. Okay, the first thing that comes to mind is that it's some kind of holographic projector or something like that, right? Um, so I think that's what I'm going to go with. It's a fairly high quality holographic projector, right? And that is what I'll write this down here. Uh, and that is what Ick is sending us to go recover from Joe's girl, because Joe's girl came very much like we did, right? Wanted a safe space to stay. Ick agreed. Joe's girl left with this projector in hand, which means it can't be very big as well. So that's something that's also impressive. These are things Oliver's interested in this because this might possibly be something that's helpful. Now, Oliver's not a real deceptive person, but at the same time, holograms are cool. So I think that that is where we are right now. Now, I want to know, does Bill's gang just give up? Or do they try to cross? And we would have some advantage here because we're in a protected position as far as that goes. Okay, so all right. Oh, I forgot. When an NPC. Oh no, that's because there's actually a move for taking harm, and I always forget that move, but I don't know that. Okay. All right, I'm gonna. Hmm. I think what I'm going to do is, yeah, I think I'm gonna skip that actually, because okay, the harm move. To me, it makes much more sense from a PC perspective than from an NPC perspective. So I think that I'm just gonna just go with it. All right. All right. So yeah, so the gang suffered some harm, many serious, several fatalities, right? So this is telling us the gang has been reduced. Okay. All right. So this is not great. We still have a few people. We didn't have very many people to start with, but we still have a few people. We who are three. I don't know, but it's not an impressive gang. It never was, and now it's fewer. All right. So I think we are going to wrap there. We have just agreed we're going to go help Ick get this holographic device from Joe's girl, recover that in exchange for the safety that he is providing us right now. Bill's gang, I still need to decide, are they going to try to attack us? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. The answer is a yes, and actually, the six is a rather definite yes. Unmodified. Okay. So they do try to attack us, but I think at this point it makes sense. We're in a position that we can actually just like inflict harm upon them. I think this is attacking someone unsuspecting or helpless. Yeah, that makes sense. So could we miss? Of course we could miss here. Since we could, we treat it as going aggro, so that's it. All right, so I think that I'm going to go ahead and take a shot at them. Why not? Uh, I'm not very good at it as far as that goes, but I can take a shot. Oh, that was terrible. Absolutely terrible. That was really, really bad. So what happened? Okay. Oh, fortunately, this is not so bad as it could have been. Seemed to foreshadow trouble. So I think while I don't hit anybody, at the same time, this is enough to convince them to kind of run off, right? But it's very clear, right, that Shan is making mental notes. That is something that we can tell, right, as Shan and company are leaving. Okay. Right. So they're not just gonna leave us alone. Oh, okay, yeah, I thought of something pretty bad that could happen. Yeah, that's what they did. Now, so we do not too long after this. We smell smoke and see that Mike and Buster are on fire. Yeah, that's the obvious thing to do. They're sitting at the edge of the lake. You're gonna take them out. All right. So that is the end of that. I think that's a pretty good session three. Uh, Now we need to do planning for session four. So if you have not watched this series before, you're probably extremely confused. But this is the third play session. So it's the fourth episode of this series where what I am doing, I am using a three-act structure, a mini RPG campaign using a three-act story structure by Katrina Ostrander was the one who came up with this structure. As far as I can find, I can't find it on her website anymore at all, but there is a website that you can find it on where somebody has compiled all kinds of different ways of using a three-act structure in especially games, but also in other media. But in any case, I'm following this as my outline. So what's supposed to happen in this session was one of the villain's minions or plots should make things worse. That in turn forced us to flee or abandon the location we're in. That is why we had the attack in Krine's bar. Then we had to bargain with temptation that is a shady trickster can help us for a price, and that is exactly what's happening here. So now we need to travel to a second new location. It says, oh wait, no, that's where we are now. Okay, well, anyway, session four. Session four, what we are supposed to do is this. Here's the outline. It says PCs travel to the second new location. PCs take action to achieve the second part of their goals. Okay, there needs to be a twist. The true nature of the dramatic question is revealed, and also one thing that is in here all the time we're in the middle of Act Two is a character spotlight on one of the PC's strengths, motives, or their side quest. Now, this is something that I have decided not to do that much of because I'm only playing with one character, that is Oliver. Nobody else in this game has not any kind of statistics, but has the full stat. And I'm not rolling for what Preen is doing. I might be rolling just on an Oracle roll. All right, so in any case, so this is what we need to do. So session four. So it says PCs travel to the second new location. We've actually already done that. Oops. Right. Uh, Apparently we're just supposed to flee in the second session and then not get here until the fourth. I'm sorry, in the third session and not get here till the fourth session. Oh well. But what we do know, we know what subplot number two is. And subplot number two, I believe, is going to be finding Joe's girl, getting this holographic projector from her, and returning it. Now, this should, in some way, reveal the true nature of the overarching dramatic question. And the dramatic question I never actually defined because I forgot to do that part when I was in session zero. All right. Except I really think that the dramatic question in my mind is really about this question of, um, I mean, broadly thematically, it's really about dealing with betrayal and confronting people who have betrayed you. That is really what's happening here. Because right, one thing again, if you're new to this, I would suggest you don't have to watch the second half of these episodes if you don't want any spoilers, whatever. But one of the people working with Bill's gang is a person named White, who used to work for Oliver, our main character, but then stole some technology and left. So in many ways, what they are doing for um, Ick is very much like trying to deal with what happened to Oliver himself. So it's really trying to do for someone else what he could not do for himself at this point, right? But he really one of his great desire, his own personal subplot, the reason that he's involved with this is that he is hoping that through this process he can have the opportunity to confront White. So that is ultimately what he's hoping to do. Will this actually happen? I have no clue because that's the way these games work. Right. So what help? It's just safety. I'm just looking back at my what's the price, and it was help ick recover a holographic projector from Joe's girl. And I'm going to make a note here, Joe's girl 1. Let's be very clear. Joe's girl is in fact female. Doesn't have to be, but I'm going to stick with that. And is also a wandering psychic. Since that is something that I've already established in the fiction, I want to make sure I'm consistent with that next time because sometimes other I forget people's gender because a lot of these names are not very informative about that. I can't stereotype gender easily with a name like Preen. It could go either way. In any case, so session 4. Our plan then. We've already traveled. So I think really the big plan is to resolve the ick mission. That is, find Joe's girl and recover the holo projector. All right, that's really the big plan, and that's going to be our subplot number 2. All right. Then we need the twist. The true nature of the. Okay, so this needs to be something that is not really obvious. So this should be something to do with what we know. That okay, uh, Professor, finish a sentence. That'd be good. Finishing a sentence is nice instead of just starting 3 sentences and then abandoning them all halfway through. Although, if you're actually watching this, you know that's what I do, right? If it weren't for the half-finished sentences, why tune in? I don't offer anything else. I just have to have finished sentences. That's it. Right. So again, overarching plot. What we believe is the nature of the dramatic question is that we are trying to confront white. So, what is some kind of twist that would reveal the true nature of that question that would be not expected? Because at this point, what we believe is happening is that white is helping Bill build some kind of super weapon that then he is going to use to come and take over Fleece's Landing because that's just the kind of person Bill is. He just likes taking stuff over. Right? So this is the stuff we already believe to be true. So something has to not be right about this. I feel like Joe's girl has to have some kind of connection, some information that she can give. So I think maybe I might because I like to do some like leaving things open, but I at least want to push in a direction, right? And then perhaps let things like the cards or the dice tell me what the details are. Right? So I think that may be what I'm going to do. So I'm going to say that Joe's girl reveals some kind of truth about White that makes Oliver reconsider his opinions. What that information is, I have no clue. No clue. I also need to make a note here that Bill's gang burned Preen's bus and Oliver's bike. Well, that's not great, is it? Okay. Well, I think that is that. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, this is Prof E signing off.